All right, everybody, this is John Carter with Simpler Trading, and today we're going to talk about the indexes, some of the major assets, and what we can expect next going into the CPI and the PPI numbers. Main thing right now in the indexes is that we did get a fairly decent sell-off, and we saw that a lot of the indexes actually came down and tested this daily 55 period exponential moving average, which also lined up with -2 on the ATR, which has been a buy zone in this market for a pretty steady amount of time now. It's like it gets down there, you got to go ahead and pick it up. If we look over at the NDX, you've got a similar situation where you came down right to the 55 EMA, and which is also -2 ATR there as well. Now, what's interesting about this is that you've got some stocks, big stocks like the Mag 7, some stocks like Meta that are falling apart here, and they're certainly not adding to anything. But then you've got other stocks like Apple and Google and Amazon that are ripping out new all-time highs. So they've kind of taken turns to help each other out in kind of a rotation. And so what we want to look at now is just kind of in some of the larger assets, what's going on there to see if that can give us a heads up as to where we go next. And for the most part, when we see the US dollar, it's not as like a tick by tick basis. But in general, if the US dollar is going higher, you're going to see a little bit more volatility in the markets. An up dollar can put downside pressure on the markets. So we did get a kind of a topping signal here. And if we can break below this 21 EMA and start working our way lower again, and we do have a beautiful sell signal here, a ready aim fire sell signal, that will be net positive for stocks. On the other hand, when we are looking at Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is going to get absolutely trounced here, and we're short. I'm looking for, and I know, I always like when I say that because people always freak out, if it's, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just technical stuff. This is nothing to do that, could Bitcoin still get to be 1 million in, 5 years? Yes. I mean, I'm bullish on Bitcoin, but what happens is in the short run, this always happens, is you get a lot of people super excited about Bitcoin. So they start buying it, and guess what? They start buying it on margin. And then you also got a lot of, OG holders of Bitcoin that have been taking loans out against this so they don't have to sell it and pay taxes. And guess what? A lot of that stuff where the margins get triggered is around 80K. So when you see something like that, when more and more people are going to get triggered at 80K, the market's like a shark. It smells blood in the water. And even though if the fundamentals and everything about Bitcoin is fantastic, it's irrelevant if the market smells blood in the water. Why? Because the big players are like, oh, wait a minute. You mean we could get more Bitcoin at 80,000 if we blow all these people out? Yes, yes, and yes. That's how the markets work. Now, if you are unleveraged, if you just own Bitcoin and you don't have any loans against it, and you're not using 5-to-1 margin, you don't worry about this kind of stuff. You hold through it. But I look at this because if you get some Bitcoin kind of mini flash crash here down to 80K, could that impact the markets as well? They've been they do kind of sometimes move in tandem, although they've decoupled a little bit. But I think this is an important enough one to take a look at because I think, it's still shortable. You just buy puts on IBIT. That's the easiest way because it's very reasonable. And then from there, just make sure that when you wake up one day and you see Bitcoin at 80,000, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is a place to buy it, not to panic or anything like that. And then the same could be said with Ethereum, Solana, et cetera, et cetera. Bitcoin's kind of the 800-pound gorilla here. And if Bitcoin's going to go to 80,000, now obviously I don't know if it's exactly going to 80,000, right? But the tea leaves are sending a message here. Then Ethereum goes, and then I think an interesting one here is Solana because Solana got really frothy. It was trading at 250. This is one I absolutely would buy, and of course we don't have as much history on this, but if this is going to follow Bitcoin, then Solana's may go below 100, and I would absolutely buy Solana. So let me see what else is moving in crypto here. All right, so if we look at some of these here, in Bitcoin, we all kind of know the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum. What's interesting on some of these, and I think Solana's kind of a good one for almost like altcoin kind of stuff. And if we look at this for like the last year, you can see December 24, it got up there pretty good. And what I'm really interested in though is what's the low prices here, because I couldn't see it on the other chart. So, okay, basically 100. So I like, this will probably be too much here. Yeah. So let's go back to a year. So basically I'd be looking to buy at 100 on Solana. Another one that I like is Chainlink. So let's take a look at that one. And kind of the same thing here. I mean, this got up to 25 or so, and you know, could it come back down to 10? That one makes sense. And let's see, from there, I used to own a lot more Litecoin, and since, you know, not so much, but same thing. Okay, so what I'm doing is just kind of going through and just seeing where the lows are. And we can look at the lows for Bitcoin on the cash, as well as Ethereum on the cash, and, you know, Bitcoin down here, basically 80K. So if you think of it, you know, if there's a bunch of stop losses and stuff like there, think of that as, you know, kind of a magnet. And last but not least, let's just kind of look at Ethereum, because Ethereum had a huge move. And yeah, so it's well off. But again, I don't know if Ethereum's going to get all the way down there. But anyway, I think this is a big enough one to look at that, you know, you can take some low risk bearish bets on this. If you're long crypto, but you're not leveraged, I think the thing to do is you just hold through it. And then if you're a trader, or if you're looking to add to any crypto holdings, just kind of keep an eye, you know, an idea of this as a flush. You know, when does it happen? Kind of, and you know, we're kind of in that 4th year cycle of crypto, or sometimes, especially as you get into January, you see a lot of selling. So you know, this is something I'm not looking at happening tomorrow, but over the next 6 to 9 weeks. And just think of it as, just be prepared for potential opportunities around that. All right, in terms of, I have a cat looking at me. I think he's hungry. If you hear some sounds here in the background, my mic that captures everything. So inflation, CPI, stuff like that's coming up. You're seeing soybeans here taking off, as well as other grains. This is new enough that we're not going to really see it in the CPI. It takes 30 to 60 days to kind of find its way into the food supply. Something to kind of keep in mind. On the other side of this, though, of course, is crude oil. And crude oil has been pretty weak and remaining weak. And that is also good. It's a positive, net positive for inflation. But from there, we really want to kind of also take a look at shorter term interest rates. And of course, TLT is the inversion of interest rate. So, you know, it'd come up pretty good, which means interest rates were low, and then came down pretty hard. And we just want to see where these are. And I think this is something we just have to keep in mind, that, you know, unless and until we start to see the 10-year note close below 4%, and you can see it kind of peak below here, that this will continue to be a little bit of a drag as well. Now, the Fed did cut rates. There's now some questions if they're going to cut rates again this year. It's hard to tell at this point. I think that they will. I think they're going to err on the side of that. But all of this, just kind of keep in mind that, you know, I saw that Michael Burry posted something that how all the big names are going to fall because of the way they're doing depreciation. You know, there's stuff like that. It's not like it's a big secret or anything like that. And so it's something, it's generally accepted accounting principles that everybody's doing it. So, you know, there's things like that where I think there's people that are short that are hoping this market's going to go, but it's not going to go yet. Okay. Anyway, and I'll be updating all this in my big picture outlook that's coming up on Thursday after the close, which can help kind of keep all of this aligned. All right, you guys and gals, have a good one, and we'll see you at the next update.
Hey, John here with Simpler Trading. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, comment down below and let us know what topic you want to see us cover next. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you can get notified when we release new videos. And if you want to watch us trade in real time using our own money, go to simplertrading.com and learn how to sign up. Good trading, and we'll see you next time.